If you have ever Googled strength and conditioning for Jiu Jitsu or strength training for grappling or something like that, I can absolutely guarantee that you have been consuming content designed for someone else. You see, most lifting content on the internet is designed for bodybuilders or powerlifting, but that is not representative of what you need as a Jiu Jitsu athlete to fully prepare yourself for the demands of our sport. Someone that grapples 3 or 4 times a week and also has a busy work and family life has very different demands to a 22-year-old bodybuilder that gets to spend all their time and energy in the gym. And in this video, over the next 10 minutes, I'm going to outline the 3 key differences, and at the end of that, you're going to be much better equipped to prepare yourself for Jiu Jitsu the way you know you should. My name is Connor. I'm a Jiu Jitsu strength and conditioning coach, and I've been coaching for over 12 years, and I've worked almost exclusively with Jiu Jitsu athletes for the last 6 or 7 years. I've coached world champions to amateur athletes, and I've been involved in organising hundreds of athletes' Jiu Jitsu strength and conditioning programs at this stage, and still am to this day. And in that time, I have seen a huge amount of the same mistakes repeated over and over again, and given advice to a huge amount of athletes that have brought their training to me, and I see a lot of the same things repeated, not because the athletes are stupid or they're doing the wrong thing, it's simply because the information is not out there and it's not as accessible as it should be. And by the end of this video, you're going to know those big mistakes as well, so let's get into it. So mistake number 1, and definitely the biggest thing that I see, is people going and taking bodybuilding and powerlifting programs, ripping those off of YouTube or the internet and trying to make those work for Jiu Jitsu, and I'm going to talk about why that's not a good idea. You see, bodybuilders and powerlifters, which is the majority of fitness programs on the internet, the gym is their sport. As long as they're going to the gym and they're hitting their sessions effectively, they have all the time in the week to recover from just those gym sessions. But for us Jiu Jitsu athletes, we're oftentimes having to get 3 or 4 Jiu Jitsu sessions in a week on top of trying to get our strength and conditioning in. And when you're using these programs that don't account for this difference, it can leave you doing far too much in the week. It can also leave you doing a huge amount of training methodologies that are not appropriate for Jiu Jitsu, and there's a number of reasons why. For argument's sake, we do want to get bigger and stronger, and a lot of these programs are going to help with that, but they're not efficient in how we're also building explosive power, in building isometric strength, and exploring different conditioning options, and all of these things play a huge role in your physical preparedness on the mats. Moreover, it's not the priority to prioritize your gym work and make it the most important part of your week. You are not going to be able to beat your training partners on the mats or your opponents in competition with subpar jiu-jitsu. And as a result of that, the technical demand and how you actually have to improve your technique and improve your jiu-jitsu, this is the most important thing that you need to focus on. And your strength and conditioning should simply supplement and give you the physical skills necessary, as well as helping you deal with injury, to be able to achieve these technical demands that you're looking for on the mats. Oftentimes when I see bodybuilding and powerlifting programs, the volume is far too high, the intensity is far too high, and then there's not enough specific attention given to the demands and the niche traits that we need as Jiu-Jitsu athletes. Yes, you can certainly do these programs and you certainly will get bigger and stronger, but you are not being anywhere near as efficient as you could be. And when I've changed these programs around for some of my athletes and some of the different Jiu-Jitsu athletes that I've worked with over the past, the difference has been remarkable. We could expect to be a lot less sore from the training that we're doing, and also be much better positioned to balance all of that training in the week. And if that is something that you haven't necessarily heard before, do me a favor, like the video and subscribe to the channel, because over 85% of people that watch these videos aren't subscribed to the channel. And if you want to see more information like this in the future, I'm going to be bringing out weekly videos, and it'll be good for you to be able to stay on top of that as the months go by. On top of that, it really helps the channel, and it really helps get this information out to more people that need it just like you. So let's move on to the second problem. And the second thing that I see is people just not doing adequate conditioning work. Now, this is something that I've kind of changed in my opinion on over time. And when I first started coaching Jiu-Jitsu athletes, I didn't think that we needed to do a huge amount of conditioning work. And I felt that a lot of the conditioning work that we will get done on the mats. And whereas it is true to some extent that you will build a huge amount of fitness, particularly if you weren't doing very aerobic sports beforehand, there's still a huge amount to be gained from implementing very specific conditioning protocols in your week. Now, naturally, and in reference to the first point, we want to combine these with a lot of the weight training sessions that we're doing so that we're being super efficient on our time in the gym. I understand that you don't have 4 or 5 days to go to the gym, and you should, even if you do, be spending the priority of that time in Jiu Jitsu. So it's important that the conditioning work that we do makes sense for us. For argument's sake, there is a huge amount of benefit to be found from building a big, robust aerobic base, and this can be done in 1 or 2 additional sessions tacked onto your weight work, where we're trying to do some long, slow duration cardio, and we're trying to build up that aerobic base over time. Building up that aerobic base over time is going to make us more physically prepared in general to express our physical traits on the mats, and it's also going to help us recover much more in between jiu-jitsu sessions. And in jiu-jitsu, where you need to have multiple mat sessions per week in order to sufficiently technically develop, it can be really, really beneficial to be able to recover better in between these sessions. Moreover, it can be massively advantageous to do some really high intensity, high effort, high heart rate work on a bike in the gym, because we're going to give ourselves exposure to a level of work rate and a level of heart rate work that we are very, very unlikely to get on the mats. Even if you train in a really competitive environment like I do, or you train with really competitive athletes, you still aren't going to get the repeated necessary exposure to this work in an effort to drive adaptation of the cardiovascular system properly. And with jiu-jitsu being a mix of really long match times, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes, and bursts of high intensity activity within those extended match times, it can be really, really beneficial to build these 2 physical traits in tandem. We can also look at doing some specific conditioning and some specific local conditioning work for a lot of the tissues that we're going to use in jiu-jitsu, as well as things like repeated isometric bouts of effort, which is going to be really nice at keeping you really more efficient on the mats. And then the third mistake, and a big one that kind of ties into the first thing, is people just doing way too much in the gym. Again, we hark back to that example of the bodybuilding and the powerlifting programs, which are built around individuals that are able to spend all of their time, all of their fatigue, and often 4 and 5 days a week in the gym. Oftentimes, these powerlifting and bodybuilding programs are far too high in volume, far too high in intensity, and account for far too much training time. And those individuals don't have to do the additional skill work that jiu-jitsu athletes have to do on the mats anyway. So for this reason, you can find athletes doing really intense programs that they found online, like small off for argument's sake, which is just absolutely not appropriate for a technical athlete that's trying to maximize their efficient mat time as well. But you realistically want to be well recovered and well prepared so that you can actually put forward really good efforts on the mats with your training partners and technically develop to the extent that you need to. And one of the biggest things that I've found over the years from speaking to new clients and speaking to jiu-jitsu athletes who have me look over their training is I find that they are just doing far too much from these style programs than what they should be doing. And I often advise them to reduce the intensity and volume of what they're doing in the gym and take all of that extra energy and effort and apply it on the mats. When you then are doing much more specific work in the gym that's better suited to you as an athlete, you are getting much more benefit out of the reduced time that you are spending in the gym, and you have all of this extra energy and time to spend on the important thing, which is getting better at your sport. Because ultimately you could do all the best strength and conditioning in the world, but if you're not technically developing, you're not going to be developing your jiu-jitsu to the extent that you need to compete with your training partners or on the competition mats. So now that you know that those 3 problems are the most common things that I run into people, and I've dealt with many, many athletes who've encountered these problems themselves over time, well, what should you do about it? Well, definitely the first thing you should do is you should go down to the link in the bio and you should download the free program that I have down there, so you don't have to rely on programs ripped from the internet that aren't going to be as effective as a program built for jiu-jitsu athletes by a jiu-jitsu athlete who has a history of coaching themselves and other jiu-jitsu athletes for a good period of time. And I guarantee you that after doing just the first day's training of that program, you would see that it is very, very different to what you have more than likely been doing in the past. And if you find that it's not very, very different, well then great, you're one of the few jiu-jitsu athletes that's more or less doing the right thing in the gym, and that's really good. But I do not find that that is the commonplace thing. And I often find people text me and say, wow, that's a big difference to what I was normally doing, and I feel great now, and I feel like I have way more energy for the mats. Because that is the holy grail of effective strength and conditioning for any sport, is something that builds your physical characteristics while still letting you develop optimally at your sport. And if you'd like to learn more about this topic, I'm going to throw one of the videos up here, YouTube's going to throw it up here, and in this video I talk about the 3 alternatives to squat, bench and deadlift for jiu-jitsu athletes, and why I think your time would be much better spent doing these.